What's going on, everybody? It's Enigma Towles. I'm back. Alright, so today is actually about a topic that I talked about on my last video. I got a request from one of my good friends who's kind of like a brother, or better yet, like a son, like to me, because I've grown up with him. He's awesome. He's dope. He saw my last video, and he wanted me to talk about the mumble rap situation, but more so with an interesting twist. He wanted me to talk more so about why is it that lyricism is not as important in the mainstream climate of rap music. This was a question that I felt was very easy for me to answer, but I also would like to sum it up in the sense that the reason why it's not important is because the market decides in mainstream hip-hop what's important. If it's not lyricism or artistry, then it's not important. It may be certain other things. I wrote some notes just to give you an idea of where my headspace is with it and where maybe other potential artists may have it. So I'll go ahead and get going down that, and we can get the video rolling. Just as I stated before, as the first cliff note that I have, is that the market decides the mainstream, what's popular. And what I mean by that is record labels are reactive to the climate of hip-hop. So if a certain sound or a certain instrument is important, then they want to make sure that a lot of the songs that are popular follow that same trend in order for them to generate money. And sometimes we as listeners and obviously artists, for myself, we dictate whether or not certain things have popularity or virality. If we watch certain TV shows, then the ratings go up for that particular show, which means that, just as an example, they get more syndication on TV and things like that. And it also extends the life of that show if it goes on to have more seasons or if it gets canceled. In the sense of music is different because there is no seasons. It's usually artists. Now, back in the day, there used to be a thing that was popular called artist development. And artist development was when record labels were very popular. They would take one artist and they take that artist and they would invest so much money into that artist in order for them to be popular, to be a spectacle, or there to be some sort of sensation around that artist. And nowadays, because record labels are falling, and they're falling much faster than they ever have, and I'm only 26 years old, so there's a lot of things I don't necessarily know prior to my era of growing up. Record labels are dying. A lot of people are going independent. They're refusing to sign. They have every reason to not sign, as a matter of fact, if we want to discuss that on another video. But there's artists going out and making stances of their own, and they don't need record labels. Record labels need them. However, with that being said, they have people hired in these companies that look at what's trending and what's going out there and what people are gravitating most of their attention to. So with that being said, the market will decide. And that could be based off the premises of a lot of things. That could be what's more in style, what current topics are acceptable, what things are not acceptable, instrumentation. All of these things play a role in an artist's fate, and to some extent their life when it comes to mainstream popularity. And when I say mainstream, I don't mean necessarily famous, because there's a lot of artists that are famous, but I'm also talking about in the rate of success in metrics, like their sales being up and things like that, streaming going up. because there are artists that may have certain other things and they may have a certain niche audience and they are successful there. But what I'm more so addressing in this video is lyricism. And the reason why is because I'm an artist who puts a lot of emphasis on lyricism. I spend more time writing the music and making sure it's delicate in that respect so that the recording process is very easy for me. But as you can tell, in this modern era of hip hop and rap music, probably from like 2007 and up, you've noticed that there's not as much display of lyricism at the forefront, unless it's an artist that has something else about them that's sensational. And you know, I'm not here to name names, but there are artists who we sometimes wonder how in the world do they have this much attention and this much fame around them. And I'm sure you can name a couple in your head, but my point is, with that being said, that would be why a lot of artists who take lyricism and things like that, and lyricism is just one aspect of music. The lyrics are important, but as he stated in his request, the gentleman I'm talking about, he wanted to know more so, why is it that people pay more attention to why we look at how people say stuff rather than what they're actually saying. And to be honest with you, it's because that's what grabs your attention first. I know there's videos I did from years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I felt like it was some of my best work. I felt that way, but that's not the ones that got attention. It was the ones where I started working on other areas around lyricism. And if you can name, I'm pretty sure you can name an artist that's very lyrical, but there's something about them that doesn't really make them pop when it comes to their music. And I mean that more so in technical ability. You know, they can put certain thoughts together cohesively, but the thing is, they don't have a delivery or a cadence that keeps you drawn in and keeps you interested. There's artists like that who don't have those elements, and therefore they bring a certain thing to people who find this more entertaining. But there's also artists who are very lyrical, but they have a visual appearance that makes people attracted to them. And just as a personal story, I've had, from the years back, I've had criticism from people, usually of the female respect, that my music is good, but I'm only using this as an example because I can only speak for myself, but that my music is good and that there's substance there, but there's no physical attraction there. And what I mean by that is, they didn't mean it in a disrespectful way or saying, oh, you ugly, or you physically unattractive, you're morbidly obese, or nothing like that. And it's nothing, by no means. But the point that they were making to me was that is an element into why people gravitate to those things first. Those things get you to the door. Substance is what keeps you there. So an artist that is lyrical, or what it may be, they can have all those other elements, but if they don't have what gets you to the door, you're never going to the door. I can name 20 artists off the top of my head that have come out in the last 5 years, and all of them are lyrical. But the thing is, they don't have necessarily another element to them that makes them appeal to the masses. And that can be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be someone's physical attractiveness or anything like that. It doesn't have to be none of that. It could be, is this person talked about? Does this person have a story in their life that's so compelling that we all can relate to? It could be any of that. Because when we look at what we are drawn to, we're drawn to things that we can relate to, or things that can get us to have an emotion behind whatever it is that we're watching, listening to, and all of that. Because gangster rap is not convincing or worth listening if you don't believe that this person lives that lifestyle. Christian-based hip-hop is not in any form worth your time if you feel like those people who listen and who makes music of that nature, it doesn't resonate with you if you don't feel like they live that lifestyle outside of the music. So it takes more than just the music itself. That music should be an extension of that person. And the thing about it is, as you know, because I know a lot of people who listen to hip hop is at this stage of the human race, hip hop or urban culture is very popular at this moment. But there have been time periods where there's been other forms of music that have been dominant. But if you look at those same things, there's a trend. There's always a trend, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about lyricism. Lyricism is just one aspect. Some people put more emphasis on it. For me, for example, I do, because I grew up in an era where lyricism was a thing. Nowadays, it could be dance. It could be clothing, riches, homes, these things, all of these things, or just bragging. We live in a different era, and a lot of people who may listen to hip hop that are in the younger crowd, they were born in the 2000s. So if you were born in that late 90s to 2000s, there's a lot of things that happen before your time, or that you can't even necessarily remember unless you've been introduced to it through someone that's older. Then you won't know that these things are available to you, or you don't know where necessarily to look. There's certain outlets and things like that people of an older generation find their resources on, and then they go there and get their content. You do differently. Most of the time it's social media. Social media is such a big platform nowadays that it's become an extension of our lives. If you look at how many times you go in a day without checking your phone, I'm pretty sure that list, it will shock you, for no matter who the person is. About 7 years ago, not everybody had a cell phone, but when the iPhones popped out, they became a big thing. It's always about the market. The market is the thing. There are videos of my own or songs that I put out that I thought were going to be it, because I felt that way personally, because I felt that they were the most lyrical. However, the reception disagrees. People may find other content better, or they may spend more time watching these things. It's just all numbers and metrics. But that doesn't mean that they're worthless or that they count less. It's just what people want to listen to. It's what people want to watch. And record labels or anybody who creates, they're watching that so that they know exactly where they need improvement, what things they need to do in order to put their music in a position for more exposure. Some people, it could be through branding. Branding could make them appear to be a big artist, so therefore people see them in that light, and therefore that's how they get their music out there. Some people do it through exposure, being in as many platforms, social media wise, as possible, so that they can get their voice out there in the best way that they feel. All approaches work. Some more successful than others, depending on the person, depending on what they can do, their skill sets. All of that plays a role. So these are things to think about, and I would definitely like to hear some opinions on it. But I want to close this video with the thought that lyrics are valuable. They are valuable. They make up a piece of a song. They're not the only thing, but it all depends on what you put your focus on. And whatever you put your focus on when you create something or when you do something, you want to be successful at doing it, then you learn how to use that certain thing that you know how to do well, and you use it to push it back out in order to bring impact on other people's life. That's why you do it. You don't do lyrics or be the most lyrical individual to show how awesome you are at writing lyrics. It doesn't work that way, because if not, you're not going to progress. You're not going to know what things work well with people. You're not going to, if you're a person who's into being the most visually appealing rapper, it's not going to work if you don't have the content behind it, because you're still labeled as a rapper, meaning that you may have the best look and aesthetically you look great, but if you don't have content that backs it, then people don't stay at your door long. It's a short-lived cycle. If you pay so much attention to numbers and metrics and things like that, it will work against you, and it will work against you because numbers don't lie, but they can also mislead you about what's valuable, what things should you place more value into doing, and it can also slow you down and discourage you on your progress, because progress is the only way that you can tell whether or not you're successful at something or you're happy about something. So that may have been more of a tangent, but the point being that lyrics are a piece of the music, and if all of the focus is placed strictly on lyrics, then it can destroy the overall project or the overall feel of a project. Lyrics are important, and in my opinion they are important because they are the gatekeepers to what you're feeling by listening to the tunes. With the tunes and them being accompanied by lyrics, you gain an overall feel of what the artist wanted you to feel from listening to that song. When it comes to why it's not as important, that more so just deals with reception and record labels and business, the business side of things, and what the business wants you to see, because they know that it works based on data that they done collected off of you, off of your usage. When you use YouTube, they calculate that data. When you use Spotify, SoundCloud, Twitter, Facebook, they're paying attention to all the things that you click on. And if they know that certain things are in those things, then they will do the best that they can to provide you with that content, because they want you to stay on there as long as possible. And that's why it works. So yeah, definitely let me know your thoughts on this topic, and I appreciate any views that I receive from this. I hope that this video is of value. It gets, discussion going wherever you are. And I like to discuss with y'all too. If you want to go in the comment section and talk, please subscribe. This is my music channel. I put my vlogs on here when I talk about certain topics, and I've been in a very creative streak, and I'm just very excited. And if there's any topics you want me to talk about, please be sure to share them in the comments. Thank you. Peace.